the next few weeks. It's indeed gratifying to have you here with us, dry and comfortable, enjoying good fellowship, anticipating a delicious meal, and preparing to honor with us a gentleman whose friendship, support, and leadership over the years have been invaluable not only to Thomas Nelson Community College, but to our entire region. Since we're here to honor a single recipient, and we have an ambitious program leading to that event, we ask you hold any applause during the program until the recipient's announced, please. On a final note, I see a little bit of green in the room, but looking at how dark it is outside,
hold it down.
I'm going to have to wish some of you Aaron Good preparation for tomorrow. Yeah. At this time, I'm happy to introduce to you my friend and colleague in today's MC duties, Ms. Jerry Newsom, Associate Director of Admissions and President of the College Support Staff Association.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Jerry Newsom. I am the president of the TNCC College Support Staff Association. This afternoon, we are here to honor Congressman Robert Scott with the first annual Presidential Leadership Award. While I prepared for this occasion today, I decided I would look up the definition of leader. A leader is one that takes the lead or initiative, a pacemaker or a forerunner. Today you will have an opportunity to hear how Congressman Scott's accomplishments have earned him this award. We will now hear from Angel Ward, the national anthem. I would ask that you please stand.
Brush stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'd like to acknowledge that Angel is a student at Thomas Nelson. She's an administrative assistant at Thomas Nelson, and she's also a member of our first year of students who are co-enrolled at the College of William and Mary under a new program. Now I'm pleased to introduce to you the gentleman who conceived the idea. It would be fitting for the leading institution of higher education to acknowledge and award leadership in our area, our own leader and president, Dr. Charles A. Pick.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, this is a glorious occasion. Let me try it again. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me turn off one of the mics because you'll have a One of the things, colleagues, friends, and I call all of you friends because you are very important to Thomas Nelson. You've been very supportive of this institution and supportive of our students. And so basically we want to welcome you to Thomas Nelson. Many of you probably have not been in this room, but this is one of the great facilities that we have here at Thomas Nelson. But today you are bearing witness to a very important first for us, and a significant first here at Thomas Nelson. We always talk about Thomas Nelson having some great firsts. I mentioned to the community that we had our largest fall increase. State average was about a little over 3%. Thomas Nelson was over 13% in terms of our first. We also recently discovered by running the numbers and looking at our projections for this spring semester, and we realized that another first is that for Thomas Nelson, in the history of Thomas Nelson, we'll have the largest spring enrollment in the history of Thomas Nelson. So again, the community is responding to Thomas Nelson and responding to how we are reaching out to the community and really putting community back into community college. But as we start to celebrate our 40th anniversary and 40th year, we are proud to add this occasion to our illustrious roster of history-making events here at Thomas Nelson. We're extremely pleased and profoundly honored to assemble such an illustrious group here. If you look around the room, you have legislators, you have community leaders, national leaders here, students, faculty, staff to be here at this important event. Family members, friends of the honoree for this presentation, our very first annual Presidential Leadership Award. One of the country's very first presidents, John Quincy Adams, captured the very essence of leadership when he said, "If your action inspires others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, you are a leader." That emphasizes our honoree today. Mirroring that sentiment, Harvey Firestone, again, because our relationship with business and industry, I wanted to make certain we chose the CEO, founder of Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. He said, "The growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership." The college established this very first annual President Leadership Award as a new way, a new opportunity to honor the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by recognizing an outstanding community leader and an important role model for our students. The faculty, staff, and student leaders from the college submitted nominations to the committee for the award to acknowledge an individual for contributions to the community and also to our nation. The award also acknowledges one who has provided exemplary leadership in the areas of education and civil rights. A poignant thought from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. about leadership comes to mind, and he so eloquently put it. People are often led to causes and often become committed to great ideas through persons who personify those ideas. They have to find the embodiment of the idea in flesh and blood in order to commit themselves to it. Again, emphasizing leadership. As president and as Thomas Nelson Community College entire family, we wholeheartedly concur with these words, and we strongly believe in leadership is about inspiring others to act, mobilizing people to venture in new directions, encouraging others to value themselves and their constituents, and opening their minds to the possibilities. In selecting today's honoree, these beliefs and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words resoundingly echo those thoughts, not only in our minds, but also in our hearts. Our award recipient today is Congressman Robert C. to many, Bobby Scott. Throughout the years in the Senate and the national political arena, he has consistently supported legislation that impacts education and human rights, thus bettering the lives of all Virginian citizens. Congressman Scott distinguished himself as a champion of the people long before entering public service, having practiced law in Newport News for 18 years. I could continue to go through it, but our Vice Chairman, Mr. Joe Gutierrez, will basically be giving more information. Before I say congratulations and step down, because I'm standing between you and this delicious meal, I just wanted to emphasize a man that many of you probably understand, but when I came here as president almost 3 years ago, one of the things he said to me when we were just sitting down at a table and I didn't know who he was, he simply said, keep in mind, you have my support, and if you need anything, just call. Now, usually you hear that from people when they say just call and so forth. Well, fortunately, I had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, and he and his staff basically took the lead in pulling some things together for us. So not only he put the words and just threw them out there, but he also backed up those words through his actions. And so I want to commend him for that as well. And I will be asking him for other things in the future. So. But lastly, Congressman Scott, on behalf of Thomas Nelson as president here, congratulations. And to all of you here this afternoon, you are part of history now, because this is our first annual, and it will continue year after year. And it is with great honor that we choose the very first recipient as Congressman Bobby Scott. So welcome everyone. Thank you for sharing this milestone, even with the college and our honoree. Thank you, and thank you for joining us to be a part of this great occasion. Thank you.
One of the wonderful things that's recently
You have to turn back on again.
turn it back on the podium and see what happens.
No, turn back on. I turned it off.
Tricky. One of the wonderful things that's happened at Thomas Nelson recently is that we have broadened our selection for students in musical programming, and we have with us this afternoon the Thomas Nelson Community College Choral Ensemble, directed by Mr. John Park, who is ready to perform for us at this point.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch
Since students are what we're all about here at Thomas Nelson, it's only fitting that our blessing and greeting come from a student for today's meeting. Tia McCoy is president of the Student Government Association.
Thank you very much. My name is Tia McCoy. I am Student Government President, and I would just like to thank Representative Congressman Bobby Scott for joining us today and taking the time out of, I'm sure, his busy schedule to attend the luncheon and talk with the students. Before we eat, I would just like to say an Irish blessing in honor of St. Paddy's Day. May this food restore our strength, giving new energy to tired limbs and new thoughts to weary minds. May this drink restore our souls, giving new vision to dry spirits and new warmth to cold hearts. And once nourished and refreshed, may we give thanks for all the good food provided. Thank you.
At this point, I'd invite you to please enjoy your meal.
Congressman Scott, Dr. Taylor, fellow faculty, staff, and students at Thomas Nelson Community College, friends of the college, and honored guests. I bring you greetings from the Faculty Senate of Thomas Nelson Community College, the elected body representing the college's just over 100 full-time faculty and well over 300 adjunct faculty. And I want to thank Dr. Taylor for giving us the opportunity to celebrate leadership and to honor a leader. I've been asked to reflect on the role of higher education in fostering leadership. And in doing so, I want to begin with a statement that may seem heretical on a community college campus. Namely, this assertion: the primary purpose of a college education is not career training. The primary purpose of a college education is not workforce development. The primary purpose of a college education is not to get a job. Instead, for 2,500 years, from the Academy of Plato and the Lyceum of Aristotle, to the medieval university, to the American Land Grant College, to the GI Bill, and in our own day, to the community college, the primary purpose of higher education is the preparation of leaders. College is the academy of leaders. Leaders in professions, leaders in business, leaders in government, leaders in politics, leaders in communities. And it was precisely this point that underwrote W.E.B. Du Bois's stirring critique of Booker T. Washington's well-intentioned but ultimately short-sighted vocationalism. Thomas Nelson Community College is uniquely positioned in the Commonwealth of Virginia's heritage of preparing leaders. Nearby, the second oldest university in North America, the College of William and Mary, prepared the first generation of leaders in the early republic, including Thomas Jefferson, whose words were the promissory note that the Commonwealth eventually funded 40 years ago with the establishment of the Virginia Community College system. Nearby, the Hampton Institute, now Hampton University, provided Native Americans and African Americans with an academy for leaders, including Booker T. Washington. Thomas Nelson and the other community colleges deliver on the principle of a democratic education. We bring to this community and other communities Mr. Jefferson's academical village right in your own backyard. We also repudiate the elitist notion that leadership is solely the product and necessarily the product of wealth, that only those born to status and prestige and property who have attended elite institutions should lead. Certainly our honored guest is reminded daily of how false those beliefs are as he stands on Capitol Hill and looks to the northwest down Pennsylvania Avenue. Being born to money and power and attending the right schools does not necessarily a leader make. Instead, leadership can often be found in unlikely places, the stone that the builders rejected, or can be cultivated in what seems unpromising soil. The faculty of the college salute you. Congressman Scott, you have both demonstrated leadership and supported the education systems that cultivate leadership in our community. On a more personal note, I would observe that Congressman Scott is my congressman, and that in that capacity, he often hears from me. And he's very courteous with a prompt reply. And our paths have crossed several times before today. The first time Congressman Scott was at a Peninsula Educators Breakfast to kick off the Tech Prep initiative earlier in the 90s when you were in the Virginia General Assembly. And the most recent time that you and I met was on a cold, wintry night in 2004 when Howard Dean came to town during his brief but exciting run for the presidency. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to leave you with the words that W.E.B. Du Bois wrote just over 100 years ago. But when we have vaguely said that education will set this tangle straight, what have we uttered but a truism? Training for life teaches living, but what training for the profitable living together of black men and white? 150 years ago, our task would have seemed easier. Then Dr. Johnson blandly assured us that education was needful solely for the embellishments of life and was useless for ordinary vermin. Today, we have climbed to heights where we would open at least the outer courts of knowledge to all, display its treasures to many, and select the few to whom its mystery of truth is revealed, not only by birth or the accidents of the stock market, but at least in part, according to deftness and aim, talent, and character. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Now we'd like to have Eileen Schweitzer come to the podium for the Director of Learning Resources. She's going to talk about the award selection process for the presidential leadership.
Good afternoon, Thomas Nelson faculty and distinguished guests and Thomas Nelson family. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on this momentous occasion as we celebrate leadership excellence. On November 28th, our campus leadership gathered together to discuss and to recommend to President Taylor 3 deserving community leaders who would be eligible to receive this first Presidential Leadership Award. The charge was given to the Faculty Senate President, to the Student Government President, Mid-Manager Co-Chairs, College Support Staff Association President, Vice President for Student Affairs, and the Vice Presidents for Institutional Advancement to identify community leaders who exemplified the traits of leadership in the fields of education, civil rights, or theology. After much deliberation and discussion, one name rose to the forefront. This name was unanimously felt to be deserving of the honor. The group felt that this person's contributions to our community set the tone and the standard of leadership that Thomas Nelson would recognize in the future. We're very happy that President Taylor agreed with this selection and this nomination. And on behalf of the entire campus leadership, we salute Congressman Scott for the contributions and for the leadership and the impact you have made on our community.
I'm going to read all of this. As a resident of James City County, I'm very pleased to introduce the next individual who represents James City County as one of two representatives to our local college board. Mr. Gutierrez is also the co-chair of our local college board and will introduce our visitors.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Generally, I don't need a microphone. I came with one volume loud. And so I want to be checking to make sure that wasn't the case. On behalf of the Thomas Nelson Community College Local Board, I want to greet you and welcome you to Thomas Nelson College's first annual Presidential Leadership Award ceremony. Our award recipient today is an exemplary public servant who strongly champions the concerns and issues that matter most to Virginia citizens. We acknowledge him for his support of legislation that has impacted and improved education, economic development, human rights, and a number of other critical issues. During his career, our award recipient has set a standard of excellence that we at Thomas Nelson encourage our students to emulate. He is a Washington, D.C. native who grew up in Newport News, and on January 4, 2007, began his 8th term as a member of Congress. He's a graduate of Harvard College and Boston College Law School. He's currently serving on the House Judiciary Committee and is the lead Democrat on the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security, and is a member of the Constitution Committee. A seasoned attorney, he practiced law in Newport News from 1973 to 1991 before entering the national political scene. And during our brief discussion, I decided I wanted to be on his side. He was quick. In November 1992, he became only the second African American from Virginia to be elected to the United States House of Representatives and the first since Reconstruction. Prior to serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, he was a member of the Virginia House of Delegates from 1978 to 1983, and then served in the Senate of Virginia from 1983 to 1993. During his tenure in the Virginia General Assembly, he was instrumental in passing laws in healthcare, education, employment, economic development, crime prevention, social services, and consumer protection that benefited all Virginians. Among his other legislative successes were laws that increased the Virginia minimum wage, created the Governor's Employment and Training Council, and established the Neighborhood Assistance Act. In Congress, he has championed several successful legislative initiatives. In 1997, he led the charge to protect the rights of children with disabilities to a free and appropriate education under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely pleased to present our Presidential Leadership Award recipient today. Please give a warm welcome for the Honorable Robert C. Bobby Scott.
congratulations again. It's indeed an honor to have someone of such distinction to receive this first annual Presidential Award. And so without further ado, please accept this on behalf of the faculty, staff, board, and all of the constituents and family members that we have here today. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, and Thomas Nelson, Senator Locke, Delegate McCoke, Delegate Rapp, Mayor Kearney, members of council. It's certainly a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you for this award that you have given to me. I have, in saying that, I'm reminded of the story of the great organist. Been looking around, some of the people around here have heard me tell the story of the great organist who was going around giving a concert. And he ended up at a very old church, a very historic church. The church was so old and historic that the organ that he was playing on wasn't even hooked up to electricity. He had to pump the air to make the thing work. And he was introduced, great introduction, and stood up before the audience and announced that I will now play Mozart. And sat down in the great organ and hit the keys, nothing, not a sound. He looked over to see what a man was to pump the air, make sure he was there. He was there, and announced again, I will now play Mozart. Sat down, hit the keys, nothing. He looked over, stared at the man, nodded, announced again, I will now play Mozart. Sat down, hit the keys, nothing. He went over to the man and said, sir, when are you going to start pumping the air? And the man looked up casually and said, I'll start pumping the air when you tell the audience that we put out the air. Having said that, I would like to accept this award and thank my staff, Joni Ivey, Giselle Russell, and Demetri Boone, who are here, that helped me win this, and of course my family and my mother, sister-in-law, here today, and my minister, Ned Haynes, all here, so we accept this award. You know, history is full of great leaders, individuals who have given selfishly to advance the common good. And there's probably no greater leader, an example of this, than Thomas Nelson, who the college is named after. He served in the Virginia House of Burgesses as governor of Virginia, as a Virginia delegate to the Continental Congress, and also as remembered for many selfless acts, where he used his own money during the Revolutionary War to pay and feed the troops. He even at one point, when the British were coming and had occupied his house, ordered his troops to fire at his own house. And so when you look at when you say support the troops, here's somebody that was a real leader in supporting the troops, and we'd like to take this moment to thank our troops for defending our democracy all over the world. Another great leader, it has been mentioned, was obviously Dr. Martin Luther King, who came to be the leader and in fact the face of the civil rights movement. From the Birmingham jail to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, he led others in a nonviolent path towards equality, helping to shatter the social and racial norms of the time. His legacy includes the lasting contributions to American law, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, which was just reauthorized last year, and he provided that leadership in the face of many threats to his life. From the Birmingham jail, he actually complained more not about those who were opposing civil rights, but more about the appalling silence of people of goodwill who said nothing when the struggle was going on. And in the Lincoln Memorial, he spoke of his vision that all of his children could be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. We still have many challenges ago, just yesterday, the House Judiciary Committee voted to give Washington D.C. voting representation in Congress. I've always wondered how they teach civics in Washington D.C. No representation in Congress right here in the United States. How do you teach civics? What's that all? Anyway, we voted that. The day before, the House Education and Workforce defeated an amendment that would have allowed for the first time Head Start programs to discriminate against people based on religion. If some of the groups didn't want to hire people solely because of their religion, they wouldn't have to. We were able to defeat that amendment. The only thing more bizarre than we had to defeat that amendment is that in the last 2 years, that amendment actually passed. And the House included an amendment that if a group didn't want to hire Catholics and Jews, didn't have to. Fortunately, the Senate never agreed, and we're still considering that. But we still are struggling today, and as we talk about opportunity, Thomas Nelson epitomizes the opportunity the young people ought to have. Half of the low-income students in America today do not go on to college. Half that are able to go to college, have the grades and are prepared to go to college, can't go because they can't afford it. And when you have opportunities like this where they can get on the first rung at Thomas Nelson and can show and possibly get other scholarships going on, this opens the door to opportunity so where Martin Luther King's dream can become much more of a reality because of the hard work done here at Thomas Nelson. So I want to express my appreciation on behalf of everybody that helped me get it, the award. Thank you very much, and I look forward to participating with the students a little later, but more important to the opportunity to be back and watch other people also receive their good awards. Thank you very much.
Congressman Scott, thank you for those great words. And it's really, when you talk about a first event, a historic event, that's something that other recipients in the future will have to step up. So can you please give Congressman Scott another round of applause? As we come to a close, as Congressman Scott mentioned, he has again proven his leadership by taking the time out of his busy schedule. He's going to conduct a forum talking to our students, our leadership development with a group of students, and they'll be joining him in room 1120 in this building immediately after. But I really want to emphasize how important this event is as we come to a close. And I'm going to ask them to please stand. Members of our our college board, if you're here, please stand so you can be recognized as well. We also, considering as president, I would never pass up this opportunity to emphasize again the importance. We have a number of city and local and state elected officials as well. I'm going to ask them to please stand and get recognized as well. I know you've been standing and sitting and standing and sitting, and sometimes you don't want to get recognized, but I'm going to ask you to stand up. If not, I'm going to call you by name. Our local city. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank all of you for sharing in this historic occasion. And again, it's a historic occasion for Thomas Nelson. It's an important occasion that as we continue to reach out into the community, we take the time as a community college to recognize those leaders who are not only friends of Thomas Nelson, but are friends of this region and friends of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and clearly taking a leadership role, not only here in this region, but taking a leadership role statewide and nationally as well. Again, thank you for being a part of Thomas Nelson's event, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.